painted silver streaks against the windowpane. The steady drumming, a soothing rhythm against the silence of Alara's apartment. She was curled on her sofa, a book resting forgotten in her lap, her gaze fixed on the city lights shimmering through the watery glass. It had been a long week, the kind that seeped into your bones and left you feeling hollowed out. Then a key turned in the lock. A calmness, a sense of rightness, settled over her even before he stepped into the dim light of the living room. Cale. His shoulders were dusted with rain, his dark hair damp and messy. He shrugged off his coat, his eyes finding her immediately in the twilight room. They were the color of rich earth, and right now, they held a world of tiredness that mirrored her own. "Hey, you," he said, his voice a low rumble that vibrated through the quiet space. "Hey," she replied, her voice soft. "Long day." He didn't answer with words. He simply crossed the room, his movements weary but deliberate, and sank onto the sofa beside her. He didn't touch her book or ask about her day. Instead, he leaned his head back, closed his eyes, and let out a long, slow breath. Alara watched the lines of stress on his face slowly ease. This was their language. The quiet understanding that sometimes the greatest intimacy was simply sharing a silence. She reached out and traced the back of her fingers along his stubbled jaw. His eyes fluttered open, and he turned his head, capturing her hand and pressing a warm, lingering kiss to her palm. The simple touch sent a current of electricity straight to her core. "Come to bed," she whispered. It wasn't an invitation to sleep. A slow, knowing smile touched his lips. He stood, pulling her up with him, her hand still enveloped in his. He led her from the soft light of the living room into the darkness of their bedroom. The room was lit only by the faint ambient glow from the window, outlining the familiar landscape of their shared life. The rumpled duvet, the stack of books on her nightstand, the sweater he'd left draped over a chair. It was their sanctuary. Cale turned to face her, his hands coming to rest on her hips. He didn't rush. His eyes roamed her face as if memorizing it anew. He leaned in and brushed his lips against hers, a whisper of a kiss, a question. She answered by parting her lips, inviting him in. The kiss deepened, slow and explorative. It was a conversation without words. His tongue tasted of coffee and the night rain. Her hands came up to thread through his hair, pulling him closer. This was the antithesis of their long day, a deliberate, languid unwinding. His fingers found the hem of her soft cotton sweater, and he slowly drew it up and over her head. His knuckles grazed the sensitive skin of her stomach, her ribs, and she shivered. He discarded his own shirt, and then they were skin to skin, his chest warm and solid against hers. He buried his face in the curve of her neck, inhaling her scent, planting soft, open-mouthed kisses along her collarbone. He walked her backward until her knees hit the edge of the bed. She sank down, and he followed, covering her body with his weight a delicious, comforting pressure. The world outside, the rain, the city, the week's frustrations, all melted away until there was only this room, this bed, him. Every touch was measured and intense. His hands mapped her body with a reverence that made her breath catch. He worshipped the dip of her waist, the swell of her hips, the sensitive skin of her inner thighs. His mouth followed the same path, leaving a trail of fire in its wake. When he finally entered her, It was with a slow, deep thrust that made them both gasp. He stilled, his forehead pressed against hers, their breath mingling. It was a moment of perfect, aching connection. Then he began to move, setting a rhythm that was ancient and brand new all at once. It wasn't frantic or desperate. It was a deep, rolling wave of sensation, each movement building upon the last. Alara wrapped her legs around him, pulling him deeper, losing herself in the feel of him, in the low, guttural sounds he made against her skin. She looked into his eyes, dark and full of raw emotion in the shadows, and saw herself reflected there, beautiful, desired, loved. The pleasure built not like a sudden storm, but like a slow sunrise, spreading warmth and light through every part of her, until she was certain she would break from the beauty of it. Her climax washed over her in a powerful, trembling wave, pulling a soft cry from her lips that was swallowed by his kiss. He followed her over the edge, his own release a shuddering sigh against her neck, her name a prayer on his lips. For a long time they lay tangled together, limbs heavy, hearts beating in a slowing, synchronized rhythm. The rain had softened to a gentle patter. Kale shifted slightly, pulling the duvet over them both, and gathered her into the curve of his body, her back to his chest. He nuzzled her hair and placed a final, soft kiss on her shoulder.